get out of jail soon. They're going to lock down again and again. Victorians are never going to get away from lockdowns unless we win this battle. So yeah, China, one belt, one road, debt trap. China's very smart. They play a long game. Western politicians are very weak, very easily corrupted, play a short game, and we're lambs to slaughter.
And just on A&R news expansion and what you're doing, like, you know, to stand up like you do as a pretty powerful voice, as you mentioned, it isn't good for business often. You have already been down one rabbit hole in politics, and you mentioned that you were crucified there. How do you see, and do you want to just explain what you're doing with your new TV network?
Yeah, sure. So something to know, I mentioned AustralianNationalReview.com. Go check it out, ANRnews.com, you know, either those URLs. It's a not-for-profit news site we started in 2013 to highlight the propaganda in news, to expose government corruption. So, of course, they come after me. We had up to 1 million readers in the early days in a single month, more than Australian Financial Review. But the traffic, they destroyed our site, pulled it all down, took us off Facebook, but we rebuilt it back on Facebook, etc. Which they still censor our stuff. But despite that, last month there was 2 million people watching my videos. No marketing, just raw footage, and it's not even, so we're turning that into a show, McIntyre Report, which launches in April, a professional news broadcast show, and then we're expanding. So think Sky News, similar to that. OAN in America is done very well. So eventually it'll grow out to a 24-hour news channel. RT Today, is done very well. So we really want to compete and highlight, just be a news channel that speaks the truth. We have no elite editorial control. And it will be a network for the people, by the people. So we have a lot of citizen journalism. That's a future trend. Why would you want to trust some news reporter that's paid $100,000 a year or less to read a script that's pushed to you by the Rockefellers and, the global elite to telling you, what the news is when it's not news? When we can have citizen journalists, there's so many people around the world today, everyone can be a journalist. You've got an iPhone, and somewhere in the world, like, we get intel and footage sent through of things on the ground, or articles that are written by people that you can trust. So citizen journalism is going to become very big. So we'll start off, so you can follow that. If people want to follow that or support that, we're up against multi-billion-dollar funded foreign media companies. Australia is in a difficult position because it didn't invest in its independent media. So there's no platform other than Sky News that's defending the business community. There's very little there's news that's defending the everyday Australian. And we'll be a global news network. So we have 30% of our followers already from America, then obviously other parts of the world, and about a third of our followers are from Australia. We're very excited about that. A lot of hosts, some ex-Sky News, political correspondents, and other hosts coming to us. And so it'll be a platform for to speak the truth and to educate people about what's going on in the world. So, of course, we're going to be labelled a conspiracy theory channel, but I think the mainstream media already have the monopoly on conspiracy theories. So there's no room there even if we wanted to do conspiracy theories, because they're already doing them all. But we will be destroying the conspiracy theories with facts that mainstream media push out there on their nightly news. So ANRnews.com is the quickest way to get there. That's the news site, and the channel, the 24-hour news channel, will be also run off that news site. And will that hit mainstream TV, or will it be more like a Ticker TV style? Yeah, Ticker TV style to start with, and then we will look. OAN in America is on some cable networks and community channels, so we'll look at going out as we produce more content and build it up to be listed on some cable networks overseas, and community channels as well. And you've done business, just before I ask the last question, you've done business with the likes of the Tony Robbinses of the world, the Donald Trump. You've had Donald Trump, done business with him. Do you see people like that even getting involved in your network? Oh, absolutely. OAN is done very well because Trump takes questions from OAN, American Online News, reporter in the White House, because he's having some issues with Fox News. Fox News being somewhat difficult, because Fox News is being pulled more left stream because James Murdoch, and Rupert will die eventually, and James Murdoch is wanting Fox News to become a left-wing media, which would be dangerous because the rest of the news is left-wing media. As much as we don't like Murdoch on vaccinations, Murdoch's the only one supporting conservative news in the world. pretty much. So Trump supports that. We expect Trump will support Australian National Review when we put reporters in the White House to ask questions, because he supports independent media. He's the one that called out mainstream media as fake news, remember, in 2016, which was probably the death bell of media. Facebook, and when Trump wins in November, Facebook and Twitter and etc. are going to get their backside smacked, and so they should, for the censoring and support of extreme left-wing nutcase media. We just can't have that. Same with ABC in Australia. ABC should be defunded until it can prove it's impartial. Prove your impartiality, because you're meant to represent Australian taxpayers, not left-wing nutcases. This is the funny thing. I don't get, not to be offensive to left-wing nutcases, but they're the ones that are easily offended by anything in society, because they created political correctness. Once again, was designed to censor people. Political correctness isn't about being correct. It's about censorship. People need to toughen up. If they're too easily offended, what's going to happen when they take your children and forcibly vaccinate them? If you're offended by a few words, that's the world that's coming. So what I don't get is extreme left is they're meant to be against war, yet they support warmongers in Hillary Clinton, etc. They voted for her. They're meant to be anti-capitalist, anti-wealthy billionaires, yet they support, inadvertently, they don't realize Black Lives Matter is a scam run by George Soros. Bill Gates is behind the coronavirus scam, as is Soros. A global warming scam, other billionaires such as Al Gore, etc. They support the very people they say they don't support. Does it make sense? Because they don't know. They're manipulated into supporting something they would never agree to if they awoken to the facts. So we really need to have to wake people up. The truth is what should count. That's all that matters. And how come it's taken to now, to the 21st century, for us to launch a network that will speak the truth? Should have happened a long time ago, and we wouldn't have had these world problems that we have today. The truth will set us free. The lies will bury us.
Yeah. And just my last question, which probably led in from that, so you read my mind, which I think 2020 has, I don't like using, the biblical people say the Great Awakening, and the political people are referred to it as the Great Reset. But I do believe more than any time in my 40 years of, being a critical thinker, a common sense human, that people are starting to ask more questions. We need to wake people up at a quicker rate. But what do you see moving forward from a good humanitarian point of view?
Oh, I'm excited. I mean, obviously, we've got to highlight the problems and the fear of, if we don't deal with them, what that's going to be like. But on the other side of this, people got to realize, because a lot of people feel helpless. They feel like, what can we do individually about this? You got to, the first step, quickly, what you have to do is, one, be aware, be awake. Because if you're asleep and buying the lies, you're a disservice to humanity. So you have to become awake and go and do your research, do your homework, okay? Proper homework. Because once you're awake, then guess what? Second step is you're going to help other people awaken. You're not by jamming stuff down the throat, but by just talking about it and again, encourage them to go and do their own research, because they've got to discover it themselves. So that's step number 2, help other people get awake. But that's awareness is the first step to change. If we want to have the world, each of us in the world, achieve its full potential, on the other side of this, when we get rid of the cabal, the criminal network, the globalists that are trying to push this COVID scam and trying to introduce totalitarianism and Chinese communism around the world, once we overcome that and rid the criminals, the corrupt politicians from our systems and clean them out, we bring in a new political system that's planned, a new financial system that's underway right now. The banks are signing up to this new financial system. Where that way we can stop the central bankers, the one world central bankers, the US Federal Reserve, which is a private banking group of elite bankers, which I wrote about in my book 20 years ago, remember? It was considered a conspiracy theory back then, but now we know that all these theories are actually real. So that was skimming the system. That's why it was slaves to the banks. It doesn't have to be that way. Once they're gone, now Trump's doing a good job getting rid of a lot of them. So the system will work quite well, because the system will be for the people. There won't be all this debt in the world. People won't be loaded up to all this debt. We'll have a political system that's coming in that represents the people. We'll have, imagine how many the cures already exist to cancer and all these diseases that are suppressed by the big medical cartel. They'll be gone. So all these will rise to the top, so people will be healthier. There was all the campaigning of the lies about food that isn't healthy, so people would naturally become healthy. People get in touch with their purpose and be able to pursue careers that are dear to their heart and add value and make the world a better place. We'll have a compassionate capitalist society. We're not going to have socialism or communism, because has it ever worked? If someone can find, I'll give $1 million to someone who can find me anywhere that's worked ever in human history. Okay, I'll give you $1 million. Especially socialists, they're good at taking other people's money. Okay, they'd love that. But they can't find a single example where it's worked successfully. Compassionate capitalist society. Capitalism isn't perfect, but get rid of the crony capitalists and you'll find it's actually much better, but with a compassionate element. No one should live with poverty, with plenty of resources. So the world can be an amazing place and spiritually evolve to where it's meant to be, okay? Then we're going to find out a lot about our history as humans. Not from a religious perspective, but from how we got to this planet, who put us here, where's the rest of us, that sort of stuff. That's about to come out, okay? So people have to get well educated about the facts to be able to handle these things. Your whole world, once you realize a lot of things you've been told is a lie, you need to be able to be in a mind state where you can handle the truth. There's also a lot of dark side that's going to come out, of people aren't aware of the pedophilia and the pedophiles that run the world and the satanic cult. You know, we have to go through that trauma. People have to go through that trauma of recognizing that and seeing that and dealing with that and getting rid of that and locking those people up to heal, to come out and heal. And on the other side of that is that more loving, caring humanity that's run by people that deeply care. So I'm very excited about the future. So step 1 is become aware. Step 2 is help other people become aware. Often that's enough to create the change. You've got to also realize you're not alone. There's a whole army that's a force for good. So you say, what can I do individually? Individually, you can do a lot. Collectively, so no one person can change the country or change the world by themselves. Make sense? So yes, you're right when people think, I can't do it. What can I possibly do? Collectively, though, we can. We need you awake. We need you aware. We need you being courageous and brave and speaking the truth and living the truth. If you're doing that, you're on the army. You're either with us, the force for good, or you're against us. And you don't want to be against us, because this is going into war. Does it make sense? You're either on the side that's a force for good, for the force for greater humanity, or you're living a lie or in bed with the corrupt criminals. And you know where they're going. Most of them are going to jail. Some of them aren't going to make it to jail. They'll wish they got to jail for what's going to happen to them. Does it make sense? We are going into a war. People need to toughen up, and the truth will protect you. The lies will see you buried. The lies will bury humanity and walk us off a cliff. So what's it matter if you don't wake up? Our entire humanity counts on you as an individual to wake up, to know the truth and walk in that truth. Does that make sense? So there's a lot they can do. I'll share more in the videos that I'll do shortly. I promise to do like 8 steps of things that people can do, but that's 3 or 4 steps there to get people started. Does that make sense, Craig?
Yeah, and I want to thank you for taking the time. And yeah, you are one of the handful of people that are out there really, pushing back against the establishment and speaking the truth and backing it up with evidence, whereas you never see the evidence in the mainstream media. You always just hear opinion. So I want to thank you, and I want to congratulate you for your new A&R expansion, and look forward to seeing some more positivity in the world. And interesting times, and hopefully Trump wins and cleans it all up and we can all move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. He needs our support. As I said, it's not about politics. I don't care if you hate Trump. I've done business with Trump before. I didn't particularly like him at the time, but I'm big enough to be an adult to go, you're either in the bed with the criminals, or you're with the force for good in the army. And that's important. So I can deal with his hairstyle and his personality. But I know he's doing the best he can. He needs our support, especially American support, to finish this job and clean out that swamp. But it's not just him. We've got to do it in all our countries. He's not coming to the rescue of Australia. We have to rescue Australia ourselves. We have to put the good people in place in political systems, etc., financial systems. So that's all what we're working on. Join the army, be a force for good. That's what you're sent here for. Don't waste that trip to planet Earth by watching the idiot box and being lied to by a bunch of criminals. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jane.
You're welcome, Craig.
That was great.